Okay, everybody, welcome back. We are going to get started with the next session. So this session is going to be centered around unleashing enterprise-ready governed GenAI with Watsonx.ai and MongoDB, presented by Nisarj Patel and Jeff Needham. So without further ado, Nisarj.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me? Is it ready? You can. Okay, you're good? Okay, awesome. Thanks, everyone, for joining here. My name is Nisarj Patel. I'm a product manager for the Watsonx.ai product, one of the portfolio products under the Watsonx brand, focusing on AI inference, deployment, and helping build enterprise-ready solutions. Today, with Jeff Needham here from MongoDB, we want to present to you all the capabilities within Watsonx, how both of these products work together, and show you a quick demo, and ultimately talk about the joint value prop here. So let's get started. Our quick agenda will be the kind of MongoDB and IBM partnership, overview of Watsonx. We'll talk about kind of the reference architecture and demo, and end off with a quick Q&A if there's any questions. So kind of setting some background here, when we think about generative AI, we like to think about it in terms of the cyclical loop here and the development cycle. And it all starts here with kind of defining your use case that we have. We'll talk about a use case for a financial banking assistant near the end of the thing, near the end of the presentation. But it's important to start off with the use case here, where the models are important here, the data that you're accessing with the models, whether it be part of a vector database or a structured database and so on, implementing proper governance throughout the life cycle, and ultimately having agents and assistants. So all of these kind of nodes here, you're kind of working in parallel. It's not a kind of a waterfall approach, and that's kind of what the platform enables you to do here. Watsonx has a ton of different use cases like any other inferencing platform. We have customers that are kind of looking to improve their customer efficiency. So in terms of the experience that they have, along with the uses and digital labor. So kind of, for example, if you're kind of parsing through a resume, trying to understand what kind of skills a given person has, trying to reduce that submission time. We have use cases on application modernization, whether it be transferring code from, let's say, Java to C++, for example, right? A lot of customer service use cases, procurement, and app modernization. And to date, we're using Watsonx not only for our customers, but internally as well. A lot of our assistants powering our HR use cases, so you might have heard of Ask HR. A lot of IT operations, we have Ask IT, as well as our supply chain related use cases where we're going through kind of the receipts that people are submitting and procurement cost, contracts. All of this organized to solve time and dollars. So what is Watsonx? Watsonx is actually a portfolio of products. The thing that we will talk about today primarily will be .ai and governance, but other kind of products to focus on and understand are kind of Watsonx.data, which is our hybrid open data lakehouse for the storage of unstructured data and analytics. Watsonx Orchestrate, which is our kind of lead product for developing and governing agents. It's an enterprise-ready solution, so managing assistants and agents, whether it be through code or through the UI, as well as Watsonx Code Assistant when you're kind of working on application modernization. So we have this in different flavors from Ansible, Java, and so on. Watsonx.ai here is a kind of AI studio for helping AI builders, primarily developers, innovate with all of the APIs that are available, whether it be inferencing API, time series forecasting API, deployments, embeddings, and so on. And we offer a whole mix of different models to get you started. The Watsonx.ai stack here is kind of designed to be flexible from the start. So it is undergirded by a hybrid cloud platform. Watsonx is available via SaaS offering on IBM Cloud, as well as on AWS and Azure. And it can be deployed on premises on the hardware of your choice, whether it be NVIDIA GPUs, Intel GPUs, or so on. There's flexibility in terms of models. I'll get to that shortly in terms of the kind of various models that are offered, not only hosted models, but the models that we have via third-party model providers, model customization techniques, as well as integration with a whole host of kind of agent development frameworks across Langflow, CrewAI, BAI, Llama Index, LangGraph, AutoGen, and so on. And all of the kind of models that you're and solutions that you're deploying, once they're deployed, you have instant observability in terms of evaluating within our Watsonx governance suite. This is the front page of Watsonx.ai. Once you log in, a user can quickly get started with kind of selecting the various models that are available, customization, grabbing their API keys, and ultimately getting to deployment. I'll touch on the deployment piece briefly because ultimately our goal as a developer platform is to help and make it easy for deploying your applications fast, right? So the deployment piece is available not only through the UI in terms of one-click deploy of your AI services. So when you're building a RAG pipeline through any of our features, you can go in and click one-click deploy. The piece of code is deployed and available as a REST endpoint for you to plug into your application. I want to focus here on the kind of flexibility that the platform is providing in terms of models. Currently, we have models as a service. This is kind of the most common way enterprises are experimenting with their models per token basis, right? As you all are probably aware, token costs add up. We want to provide flexibility here, not only in terms of large models that are available that are quite costly for many relatively simple enterprise use cases like document parsing or extraction or classification, where you can use smaller models. But we also want to get consistency of kind of cost prediction, which is critical when you're running large-scale jobs here. Meaning that we also have a deploy on demand catalog. So this enables you to have your models deployed in a single tenant configuration, choose the number of GPUs and instances that you want to spin up, and whether or not the model is hibernating. This provides a consistent cost for the enterprise to run. But enterprises are not monoliths. They have a whole host of other considerations regarding runtimes, different models that are coming up, right? Hugging Face alone has over 2 million models that are available. In practical basis, there's no way any platform can host and provide 2 million models. So that's why we believe we've provided bring your own custom models. The custom models here, you can import your custom models from Hugging Face or models that you've tuned. The added flexibility on top of this is that you can also bring your own custom inference server. So if you're running VLLM, which has become these kind of standard de facto inference runtime server for a lot of model serving, you can run that. You can also run Triton, TensorRT, pretty much any kind of runtime that exposes a OpenAI compatible endpoint. And next, we recognize that enterprises are also building with models that are kind of closed source and behind an API, right? And so that's why we introduced a gateway for allowing our customers to use our tools to build with models that we don't directly host on platform. This includes Anthropic, OpenAI, Cerebras, which is providing token throughputs across at over 2,000 tokens per second, or your deployed NVIDIA NIM. And all of this, all these models are accessible via the gateway, load balance, rate limited, and so on. So that's our curated library. I'll skip past this because I just talked about it. But a whole host of models are available, as well as kind of benchmarking to assist you in making the right decision for the model that you would like to have. Now, on the topic of models, I definitely want to bring up the topic of IBM Granite, which is our own in-house models, which are completely open source, made with permissible data sets, fully indemnified for output indemnity. And they're available in a whole host of flavors, from language models. So these are models that you can use for regular reasoning, classification, generation kinds of tasks, available in MOE flavors. We also have a strong focus on guardrails. When you're deploying an application, of course, any kind of application, agent, pipeline, and so on, you want to be able to make sure that the model is also, the application is filtering on harmful content that's coming in, whether it's be input or be even generated by the model itself. And the guardrails models are also monitoring for hallucination of your tool calls here. The grand models also have accelerators, so speculative decoding models, and they come in other flavors of use cases for time series forecasting. So specific ultra lightweight models for time series forecasting that don't require tuning for zero-shot forecasting. And finally, kind of the main topic at hand here is that in conjunction with MongoDB, you can use our embeddings API for grounding your enterprise knowledge into a vector database for retrieval. And so the benefit of all of this, of course, is kind of supporting deeper RAG patterns for contextual grounding. We support multiple different embedding models for you to encode your data sets within them. And of course, improve the kind of performance of your RAG pipelines. On top of this embeddings API, there's another solution that we call Auto AI RAG. It builds your RAG pipeline for you by iterating through a whole host of kind of combinations of chunking techniques, embedding models, as well as LLMs and other parameters. It ultimately ends up deploying that as a REST endpoint for you to kind of plug into your application. Now, we talked a bit about this build time kind of solution here, but we really prioritize kind of governance as a whole. And governance for us means a lot of different things, not only from the identification of the use case. This includes kind of writing down what exactly is the problem that we're trying to solve, the data sets that are included, the kind of risks that you're proactively identifying as you try to begin to build out your solution. And that's why that prior flow that I had was circular. But this includes kind of security, so all of our guardrails features, visibility into metrics, so any kind of drift, biases, kind of F1 scores, root scores, you name it, are available as your models are kind of deployed in production and as you are evaluating them at build time. So let's talk about kind of the use case that we see in conjunction with MongoDB here and Watsonx, right? Here we are trying to build a kind of intelligent financial assistant with MongoDB and Watsonx. Relatively common use case that a lot of our customers and enterprises are kind of getting started with. Of course, once they start off with this, they'll kind of dive deeper into kind of building an agentic RAG pipeline, making that it's more complicated. But here we'll just demonstrate how a kind of more simple version of this would work. So the overall scenario is that we actually have two chatbots running, one at different stages of the user's journey. One is prior to login, and the one is post login. So we have a lot more access to the user's information, whether it be structured or unstructured data. The user will log in, and if they for more deeper information, if the user is not logged in, of course, the model will be serving it generic information out of the kind of repository that we've kind of indexed already. These kinds of chatbots or agents, however you want to configure it, can be useful for many different things, whether it be transaction summaries, spending insights, FAQs on how to get started, changing kind of account settings, and so on. The value prop here is, of course, evident in terms of reducing the customer support load for retrieving kind of important, valuable data, and of course, providing deeper engagement after login with more directly relevant information to the user. So here's a quick video on how this works. Cool, so now the user's logged in. Oh, I think it skipped past the video, or here, okay. And now we can ask a lot more deeper questions here that the user can ask here for what kind of information, whatever kind of information they're looking for. So the system is going to kind of provide them with insights on their spend. All of this we're retrieving from MongoDB for providing the most relevant insights here. Awesome. And here's the kind of general architecture that I talked about. It touches upon a lot of components. I believe this is also accessible via notebook for you to get started. But high level, we kind of first start off with a pre-processing loop here, where we're kind of ingesting a lot of documents and structured data within MongoDB's data store and and turning them into vector embeddings. We're using Granite embedding model for English embedding. One, because it's performant, and number two, because it's trusted, right? All these models are fully indemnified as well. Once that data is there, we can, of course, use that same embedding model to kind of retrieve the queries. Those retrieved queries are kind of passed on to the Granite model for reasoning through the user's query and matching it up with the appropriate response as needed. Now, let me bring up Jeff to talk about kind of the joint value prop between Watsonx and MongoDB.
Nisarg, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is super exciting.
Awesome.
So I actually just want to kind of state a few things for our audience, maybe ask you a couple of questions. I represent the insurance industry and some of the banks here in MongoDB. I'm really interested in how our customers, if they've got data in MongoDB, if they've got their business objects in MongoDB and they start to enrich them with vector encoding, the natural progression now is to leverage agents to start to execute tasks within certain business workflows. Now, I guess the value proposition here for us is that MongoDB provides obviously a rich version of that business object. You can store your vectors in that same business object in MongoDB. But and we've got vector search on that, but what we don't provide, and I think is kind of the joint value proposition here, is that in order for me to get one of these solutions to market, to go to production with a banking or an insurance use case or in any kind of industry that's heavily regulated, I need a couple of things in addition just to the data layer. I need governance, I need security, I need to be able to be, I guess the ability to move quickly as a software delivery team with these things. I really liked what you showed there because, I don't know if you folks noticed, but in that chatbot, we think a chatbot is fairly simple, but the chatbot has to know who you are. It's Nisarg or it's Jeff, and I can't show Jeff's account to Nisarg and vice versa. So how do I solve that challenge? If I bring in just any agentic framework here and start building, there's a number of challenges that I'm going to have to solve for in addition to the business object, in addition to just the agentic framework itself, and I think you guys provide that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only do we provide that at kind of like the kind of deployment time, but every single thing that you are working on within Watsonx is highly bifurcated across various projects and deployment spaces and strictly access controlled. And the thing I want to highlight here is kind of how easy is it to get started in terms of experimentation, but how hard it is to actually bring things to production. Yeah. And that's where the product is kind of working on overdrive to get, kind of provide you with the tooling to get that started. So one, as soon as you kind of procure API keys, of course, and get started there and experimenting within our prompt lab for various different items. And as long as you have your data kind of configured there, one, our users are developers. They're more comfortable kind of using the command line. Almost all of the things kind of that are accessible on product via the UI are accessible via the command line. So we have a bunch of kind of templates for you to kind of quickly get started, whether it be deploying an agent of any sort, so just simply plug in your keys, and then with the one simple command of Watsonx.ai kind of service new, you can start and ultimately deploy that as a REST endpoint. Yeah. Of course, the kind of issues on controlling who has access to which data points, those are kind of will remain persistent, and ultimately our goal is to provide the tooling to help you kind of ameliorate that.
Yeah, so I can get started really quickly if I've got my customers, if I've got my bank accounts, if I've got my major enterprise business objects sitting there in MongoDB. I've got vector search, I've got a rich business object that the agent can then come back and easily enrich with any kind of summarizations, any kind of external insights. Let's say you configure one of these Watsonx agents to do a web search. I had the CIO of Tokyo Marine on stage with me earlier today, and he talked about ensuring public risk, police departments, libraries, town halls. And if there's a lawsuit filed against one of these entities, he said to me, I want to know the lawsuit's coming before the lawsuit hits. I want to be scraping the web for news articles or for events. I want to have insight into these things. And these are the kind of things I think you can build into these agentic workflows.
Absolutely.
So we bring the business object, the business objects of the last 30 to 20, 30 years were just simple CRUD operations with structured data. And now that we're seeing that these agents can actually go out, scrape the web, generate insight, maybe actually even read something like your enterprise data lake or an open data lake like you guys showed, come up with some additional insight, and what is it going to do? Where does it store that data? It's got to come back and store it somewhere so that the business user can then log in and see that information. The business user being either maybe an actual employee of the company or a customer in the chatbot example that you showed. So I think you guys solve a lot of challenges on providing that the ease of deployment, but really more these core functions like security and governance. And I think that's a real value add on top of the MongoDB solution. Nisarg, how do I get started? If I am one of these enterprise customers, if I've got all my data in MongoDB sitting there, how easy is it for me to get started building some of these agentic workflows with Watsonx?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking to kind of work off of our SaaS environment, it's as simple as going on our website and logging and kind of trialing Watsonx and grabbing your API key. There's that mechanism if you want to do it through the UI. We also have a separate developer hub for users who want to strictly access it via code for quickly getting started there. And of course, if you're some of our larger enterprise accounts, we're looking for more of a custom enterprise and a higher tier plan, or looking to deploy it on premises, then of course, please go on our website and kind of reach out to any of our sales vocals.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So it doesn't matter if I'm a bank and I'm running on premises.
No.
If I'm any other large enterprise and I'm using either AWS, GCP, or Azure, no matter where I've deployed my MongoDB data, I can get started and use Watsonx no matter the cloud I'm on, no matter if it's on premises or cloud, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, this is a real value add, Nisarg. If you guys kind of see this architecture diagram, we'll leave this on the screen for folks that want to take maybe a snapshot of this. You can kind of see on the right-hand side, this is what we were kind of talking about, these business objects. We talk a lot about the agentic frameworks and about the agentic workflows. We obsess over those data objects in MongoDB, obviously, because we're the database provider. But you can kind of see, like in Nisarg's example, just in the example with that chatbot that I think you showed, we have a number of business objects that have to get stored in the database. Obviously, it's the business object, it's the business entity itself, which we have as like transaction details on the screen here, or customer details, but it's the FAQs, the unstructured data that sits out there in the enterprise that we want to vector encode, put in the database so that we can quickly vector search. Customer comes in with a question, I execute a vector search. That's no longer some piece of information sitting in some content management solution or some file server at worst. I want to make that instantly searchable so that the customers or the business users can access that. As you can see here, maybe I even actually have to store some of the things like the spending insights. Maybe the agent actually, at runtime or in real time, kind of takes that backward-looking view of that business entity. He looks at your bank account or my bank account, looks at both of our purchasing histories, and sees that one of us is spending a lot more on maybe potentially groceries or retail purchases, and it can generate those insights from an open data lake, correct?
Exactly, and I think here's like right in the middle between the kind of purple box here where Watsonx is sitting and kind of when that query is going out to Mongo, right? Here's where kind of a lot of opportunity for kind of foul actors comes into play, where you want to make sure that you're building in the appropriate guardrails. For one, checking for any kind of prompt injection, so our out-of-the-box guardrails and moderations APIs help you kind of catch these prompt injection attacks and so on preemptively, so you can make sure that the right information is being passed and you're not kind of leaking information out into the prompt itself.
Yeah, that's excellent. So no matter my use case, no matter the business workflow or the tasks within that business workflow that I want to start to augment with agentic, I want my data objects obviously in the most flexible format. I want vector search, but I need so much more on top of those data objects. All of the things that you helped us kind of illustrated today, Nisarg, I think I'm really excited about this. We know it's a huge lift. We know what we want to do with agents. It's very easy to kind of think about what we would like them to do, but the actual software execution team, having a team that's able to move with velocity, they've got a number of things that they need to solve for in terms of security and governance. And we normally think of governance as, what did I put in my data lake? Did I add it to the catalog? But I think governance and oversight is so much more, especially as agents begin to start to augment our business transactions, eventually to the point where maybe they actually are autonomously executing some or all of those business transactions. Nisarg, how do I get started? If I just want to start to experiment with Watsonx, can I do that quickly and easily?
Yeah, absolutely. There's pre-made templates for you to kind of build your agents, RAG pipelines, or just simply making inference calls to any sort of models, as well as, of course, guides that are available as notebooks as well.
That's great. And one last point, it feels pretty open. Like you've got your own models. I love that you guys have models for very particular types of tasks. If we throw all of the organization's use cases at agentic, we're going to have probably a very wide breadth of tasks and functions that need to be executed. And we know that certain models are going to be better than others. I love that you guys are allowing, you've got models that our customers can use, but you also allow the use of some of the more popular models that are out there, things like Anthropic. Right? So you can bring your own models, you can use IBM's models, you can use a combination of both. Right? So this is not like sort of an IBM product of the older generations that we would buy and that was the one thing that we used. This is really more of an open framework. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's open, but that doesn't mean that anyone has access to it, right? So even when you're bringing in your own API key to access, for example, an OpenAI model, for example, right? Once the administrator is configuring it, all of that kind of access is controlled through our IAM and so on. So you can strictly regulate which of your users is part of your account is able to access a given model and work with it.
Yeah, Nisarg, this is really exciting. We've got a little bit of time left, and with the time that we have left, if folks in the audience have questions, I think Ashley or one of our hosts will work the room with a microphone. We'll put on headsets to make sure that we can hear you. But folks, Nisarg, thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any questions from the audience? If anybody has any questions, Nisarg is our the IBM resident product expert here for Watsonx. Okay. All right. Well, no, you can also come back to us after the session concludes if you have questions. Let's give a round of applause from Nisarg. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you all.
Thanks, Nisarg. Appreciate you.